Well, hello and welcome to the On It Not In It podcast interview series. I am your host, Todd Eppert, and today I'm joined by Carrie Saunders, who is a partner and engineer at BCS Engineering. Carrie, thank you so much for joining us. Would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Todd. So what we do is we pretty much help everybody. We help online businesses with everything website. So all the hard tech, all the easy tech, we love. Um, when our clients want to learn how to do things themselves, we love teaching them how to do them. We don't feel like we've got to do all the stuff. We love to spread our knowledge out to other people. So we've helped over 16,000 businesses, I think, over the past 21 years. And we've got some that have been with us for 20 years. Like some of them have been with us for a very long time. So we love to just really partner with other businesses and help their business grow by taking care of their tech so that they don't have to worry about it.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that. 20-year customers and 16,000 people served. Congratulations on the success you've had.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I know it's been a little over 20 years, like as you just mentioned. But let's start with what inspired you to start your business. Why not go work at a big tech firm or do something where it's a little easier to get a job or a W-2 career? Or why start a business?
Well, I actually started the business when I was still in grad school. My undergrad is electrical engineering with computer science specialty, which is I was one of the few females. And I absolutely love solving problems. I love solving other people's problems. And when I was in college, I became like the webmaster for the Russ College of Engineering Technology at Ohio University. And then I also took care of the electrical engineering and computer sciences departments websites. And what I loved to do there was I loved to really talk to the people, the staff, and figure out what was their pain points and what was their problems and what did they need the website to actually help them be able to do their job with. So I like to solve their problems and help them um, get their job done better, and what would help them help the students, for example, be able to find the information they needed to on the website. And that just kind of spawned my love for doing things on the internet. And then we had a um a local business in Gallipolis, Ohio, which is only about an hour away from us. It's actually where my husband and I graduated high school. We're high school sweethearts. A little side note there. And one of our classmates' mom had a really cute boutique clothing store, and she wanted to get her products online. This is like we're talking like 2003, 2004. This is like well beyond back when people were on the internet, like small businesses weren't usually selling things online there then. And so I knew that I could help her do that. And I found it so much faster and easier for me to help her get the job done than to find somebody else to help her. So I just kind of started with that, with just the love of helping others and love of helping other businesses. And so I actually started it. I had a 9-month-old when we started. Actually, we had decided to go ahead and start having kids in grad school because we've been married for so long already. And yeah, I don't know, I just loved helping people and I decided to do it. And I just loved it so much. That's where I stuck and where I still am today.
No, that's great. That's great. And so it sounds like that early start, helping a small business do some e-commerce work was that I hate to ask this question now early in this, but was that the birth of e-commerce made easy, your podcast?
Well, the podcast started about a year ago, but yeah, that's probably where I've gotten my roots of wanting to help people with, the e-commerce. And I created the podcast to really help break down the tech, because most of our customers don't either want to know the tech or they don't have their brain doesn't work that way to learn the tech. And so I've been told I'm really good at relating to others. I'm really good relator as far as like, I can take tech speak and make it simple, and I can take a simple non-techie speak and make it technical for my staff. So I loved using the e-commerce made easy podcast to help online business owners, whether they have a true typical e-commerce site or whether they're selling services or coaching. I love to take the tech and break it down to make it easier for them to make sure they're successful. I want to reach people of all business levels with that, small to medium to large businesses with that. And so I love doing that. I just love helping others. That's kind of like my whole mantra here.
Well, that's okay. I mean, obviously, your desire to help others is what's giving you the entrepreneurial bug, because you said I can do that better if I start a business rather than join a company, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's great. That's great. So, and yeah, I'll plug if you're in the podcast, but for all of our On It Not In It podcast listeners, please go listen to E-Commerce Made Easy, which is Carrie Saunders' podcast. You'll probably find it on all those places that you find my podcast. So, all right. So jumping back into some questions for you, Carrie, what are some common misconceptions about running a business? You've been doing this almost 22 years. So think about some things over time that you had a preconceived notion of what should happen and what really did happen.
Well, I feel like a lot of people think that, you might start off slow, and then you might eventually start growing, and then things might take off. For us, it's been a bit of the other way around. Things took off so fast. Like we were growing by over 30%, sometimes 50 to 100% month after month, the first few years of us being in business, and probably into the 5 to 7 year realm too. And so we started, hiring people because I needed help. I couldn't do it all by myself anymore. And so I feel like a lot of people think that you're just going to like grow steady and then you might take off. But for us, we took off and then we kind of flatlined a bit and have had some dips too, because we've been in business for over 20 years. We've had crazy economy. We've gone through COVID and things like that. And so we're trying to work on our way up. So I feel like sometimes a misconceived notion is that once you've been successful, you're always going to be successful. And that's not the case. The past, 5 or so years, we've been in a rebuilding phase because of so much change between industry and economy and COVID and stuff like that. So I think that people need to realize when they're working on their business and working in their business that they've really got to step back and not look at any of those dips as failures, but as opportunities to growth and to learn more and to then grow in a different way. Maybe things are supposed to change for you. So I think just making sure that you're open to these changes in your business all the time, because they're going to happen. Nothing ever stays the same, especially in technology and really in our world today. Everything's so fast paced that we've just got to be open to those changes and realize going down is okay. Sometimes that makes you go back up better.
Yeah, good point. Good point. There are cycles in business, and you have to learn what's the pivot points you got to make when it happens, right? That's if you're going to survive.
Right.
So great feedback there. So you mentioned in the very beginning that you started your business while in grad school, and you already had a 9-month-old. So this could be a really great question for others to hear. But how have you maintained a work-life balance while trying to build a business, raise your children, be a wife, do all the other things that you probably do in life? How do you maintain the work-life balance?
Well, that is something I actually had a challenge at first, because shortly after that 9-month-old, he was 19 months old when the second one came around, and that one wasn't, and he knows that the second one knows that he wasn't planned. Nobody really has children that close together, I don't think, on purpose usually. So I really had to figure out that work-life balance, and I got into a bad habit, honestly, back then. So I would work from like, say, 9 in the morning to like 5 o'clock at night. Then I'd have family time. And then about 9 p.m., we'd put the kids to bed and I would work again until midnight. So I had this kind of actually unbalanced balance that I had going on, if that makes sense. So I would take that time off and be, very intentional with the children and my husband. But then I worked again for another 3 hours. So after they went to bed. So what I had to do is, I honestly had to get some accountability partners, and that became my staff. And they helped me break free from working that many hours a day. And they started taking over, a lot of the tasks that I didn't really have to do. And that helped me be able to completely shut off after hours. And so now, and I actually have people that get a little bit surprised, even though I'm such a tech person, after hours now, I'm rarely doing work, and I'm rarely actually even on a computer. Like, unless I'm playing video games with my husband and my youngest child, because he's still at home, I am not likely on a computer in the evenings or on the weekends. So sometimes people are like, I can't get a hold of you on the weekend. I'm like, that's because I shut off. Like, I purposely try to shut off. I try to make sure that I fuel myself with good food and stuff like that, so that my brain works great during the day and I feel super effective, so that I can take that time off. So I feel like making sure you take time for your family, for your health, it is a priority, and it makes you more effective at work. And so I've gone through both. I've gone through not having a good work-life balance to, like, trying to make sure I do have a really good work-life balance. Now, if we do have a client emergency, yes, I will work in the evening or on the weekend, because sometimes websites go down or something breaks. No problem. I have no problem doing that, but that's not my normal. I'm not going to respond to clients if it's not an emergency after hours. So that's how I try to make my work-life balance. I make hard stops.
Yeah, and I think that's the one strategy I hear you talking about is the intentional blocking of time that's important. So even when you were working the extra 3 hours a night, you were blocking, 3 or 4 hours when your kids needed you, when your husband needed you, family dinner time, get everybody to bed, and then okay, I got to catch up on some work. That's pretty common, I think, in the entrepreneur world. It's actually common in the W-2 world too. People do that, right? Especially in the world we live in, the technology age. I love the fact that you now unplug, like you intentionally unplug. Maybe you put your phone away. Maybe like you said, you don't do anything on the weekends. Whatever it is that keeps you from being distracted and getting back into work on a regular basis. I love it. So 22 years, I keep saying that over and over again, but there's a theme there. Success is the theme. You've obviously dealt with different economies. You've gone through a couple of ups and downs. You went through the 07-08 crash. You went through the pandemic. You've survived both of those. So things have been evolving around you for a long time, but also the world that you work in, web mastering and building websites has changed significantly over the last 20 years, right? So what are some specific strategies that you do in the company to remain innovative?
Well, I feel like as an online business owner and entrepreneur, we have to always be learning. Like we have to always be learning. Now, you can also fall in the trap that I've fallen into of learning too much. Like, so I have to make sure I put my blinders on when I'm learning too, and not like go learn all the new shiny objects too. So I feel like we need to make sure we're always looking forward and taking the time to step back and look at the bigger picture so that we know what we need to learn next. And I also like to say a lot that you need to follow your gut. I feel like your gut really can guide you in the right direction. There's been so many times when I have followed my gut and it's been, the right way to go. And then there's times I've logically like thought through things and ignored my gut, and it was a really bad decision to ignore my gut on several times. Like, you got to balance your logic brain and your heart brain basically, when you're an entrepreneur and an online business owner. And so making sure you're always looking for people like you, mentors, people in business. They may be a bit higher level than you are in business. They might be about the same as you, but like a different, at least, perspective in business. The past year, I've been really making some good business besties, and that's really helped propel me forward in this next stage of our business, because they have different perspectives than I have. Their brain works differently, and we can bounce ideas off each other. So not only learning, but finding those mentors, which may not be, many of them aren't even in the tech line. They don't do tech stuff, which is fine because they have that different brain than I have. So I really think, learning and getting those mentors and business besties out there is really what helps propel businesses forward through all these changes, because we can't do it alone. We don't know all the things. So we need others to bounce ideas off and to learn from.
Yeah, excellent. Appreciate that. So you just mentioned the next step of your journey. You talked a little bit about that what's coming next for you. So without sharing anything that's, obviously or secret or not public knowledge as of yet, could you offer a glimpse into your future plans and goals for your business? What's your next step as an entrepreneur?
Well, as a business that has been around since 2002, we are, and this is going to get a little bit techy, but I'll try not to make it too techy. We are used to having software that you download and you can customize and edit, and then the customer gets something brand new or something completely new functional wise. With the last, 5-7 years or so, there's things called SaaS, or software as a service, where you're like Shopify or something, where you can't touch the code. You can minimally modify it. So one of the things we're working on doing is we have a new software we're working with, because we don't actually generally create software from scratch. We make systems that already exist better and make them work for the client. So we now have some options that are software as a solution options, as well as downloadable options. That way we can we have some businesses that kind of need to be in one or the other. And I'm also been working on a course that I'm creating about the converting. It's going to be about converting your website better. And it's going to be meant for business owners too, that want to know how to make their website work better and convert for them. And they may or may not want to do the work themselves, but have as a business owner, if you understand having this element here or not having this element here is going to make your website bring you more revenue, is important for a business owner to know whether or not they want to do the technical parts of implementing that. That way they can hire and have the right person, the right fit for them to help propel their business forward. So I plan to be releasing here later this summer a course about that, so that I can help other online business owners learn how to, what are the mistakes on their website? What are the good things on their website that they don't want to get rid of, so that they can really understand the holistic of how a website works together to get their clients. So that's a little bit of a glimpse of what's coming up.
That's great. That's great. So it sounds like you guys are stepping a little bit into, or more into the, when you mentioned SaaS, those are more subscription model revenue type businesses, mm-hmm. a monthly or annual fee to have access to the software, which generally requires less from the business to maintain, right? Because the software works, you make the upgrades, you make the changes, but it's a subscription, right? And then the other one you're talking about, the online course, I'm assuming that'll be a paid course. So mm-hmm. that's you record it, it's done. Now it's again, you do the work once and it can be repeated sales regularly. So you're starting to step into different means of revenue that require less input from maybe you or some of your team members.
Right. Well, the reason for the course too, is we used to have a good revenue stream that was like a passive income revenue stream, where we created bolt-ons to shopping cart softwares, and those just aren't as popular anymore. So yeah, the course is going to help do that. And one thing with the course too, that I think is going to really make it stand out, is I plan to do 8 weeks of coaching in it, so that people can get their specific questions answered from, their particular nuances of their website and of their business. Since I've been doing this for over 20 years, running my own business, as well as helping other people run their business from a technical standpoint, and seeing, the pitfalls and the wins that they've had. My plan is to do 8 weeks of coaching as well, with a group coaching, to really help propel businesses forward. So it'll be fun.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense. So, one final question for you, Carrie. What advice would you give a new entrepreneur, or maybe someone that's in one of those dips in their business where they're kind of hitting a wall and they don't know what to do next to make that pivot to become successful again? What advice would you give them?
One of the things that I wish I had done before I started the business, or maybe early on, was like have some sort of business course or classes. Like I started this with absolutely no how to run a business knowledge. And while you can wing it for quite a while, you eventually get to the point where you really can't wing it anymore. And I actually last year took one of Donald Miller's courses, flight school, and it was awesome. And there were so many things in there that I had realized that I knew and did, but I didn't know why. It was kind of like more of an instinct thing. So I feel like if you're in a dip, either if you haven't had any business courses, take some business courses. If you have, and you have that good base and that good knowledge, then find either a coach or a business mentor that's going to help you see a different perspective and see how to get through to the next stage. Because I've had coaches over the years. They've been excellent and great at different points and times in my life. And don't be afraid to ask for help, because we're not in this alone, and we do need other people's help, because more of our brains working together works, we can propel forward better if we're not isolated and by ourselves. So
excellent. That's great knowledge to share. I really appreciate that. So Carrie, I just want to thank you for your time today. Thanks for joining the show. We really appreciate it. One more reminder to the listeners: everybody go out and listen to E-Commerce Made Easy, and maybe start looking at Carrie's website, because it sounds like she's got some really cool new offerings coming up that maybe we can learn from and grow from. And so thank you again, Carrie, for being here. And to everyone watching and listening, I look forward to seeing you and hearing you on our next episode.